Hello, welcome to the Hill Country Hustlers podcast. This is episode 1. We're starting off here, and through this series, I'm going to be interviewing some local business leaders and entrepreneurs in the Hill Country and just figuring out their story and asking them some questions and seeing if we can learn a couple things from them. So my first guest is Starkey Green, my dad. He's the owner of Starkey Pest Control. So I guess we'll get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dad, and maybe how you started the business.
Okay. I was born and raised up around Gilmer, Texas. Grew up on a dairy farm. Moved down here about 30 years ago. I had a friend that was living down here going to Shriner and came down to visit and for the weekend and loved it and went back home and packed my bags, came back down the next day. And then a couple of years later, met Zachary's mom and kind of the rest is history, but got into the pest control business. I was working for a company that was based out of Abilene and became manager of their office here in Kerrville. And then eventually the owner of that company started selling off all their smaller locations, which Kerrville was one of their smaller locations. And they ended up, I think they sold out to Terminex. And then when they started doing that, that's when I started thinking about just starting my own business and instead of starting with another company. So we started about 26 years ago, me and Stacy, and the Hill Country's been great to us. We've been blessed. The community's great. We've got great customers, loyal customers. We couldn't have done it without them or God being involved in building the business with us. He put a blessing on our business and it's been great for us. And in pest control, I really enjoyed, whenever I started doing pest control, I didn't think I would like it. I was like, me and Stacy were talking about it. And before I went to work for that company, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And anyway, I ended up applying and getting the job with her kind of nudging me. and started doing pest control, and I really liked the being able to help people, meeting new people, seeing new things around the Hill Country, and being able to help people that needed certain needs. And it didn't just always fall into pest control. There's many times that help people with things that they couldn't do too. Older people and single women and whatever, older women that were without their husbands and just moving stuff for them. And we still do that. But anyway, I enjoy being able to go in and help people in need. And that was the kind of the neat part of it. It wasn't just doing a service for them. And so that's how we got into it. And it's been really good. And like I said, the community's been great. They really there's great people here. Yeah. It's easy to want to do things for them.
So how has your business evolved since you started, and maybe in a way that you didn't think it would?
Originally, we first started out just doing pest and termite. And several years later, I decided I wanted to start doing some weed and fertilization. So I went back and got my license in the weed category and lawn and ornamental. And because I wanted to do my own yard, main reason. And then a neighbor that owned a landscaping business was over and was like, who does your yard? And I was like, I do. And he asked me to give him some prices on some of his commercial accounts. And it just snowballed from there. That's really poured on the last 10 years for sure.
So you've been really successful. I think it's safe to say most of that comes from hard work and being a good person, obviously, like you've said. But what are some good tips for people starting off on their own and some common pitfalls to look out for?
In any business, I think the best thing you can do is be upfront with them, communicating with the customer or whoever you're working with. And just communication and doing exactly what you said you're going to do and showing up when you say you're going to. I mean, not that we don't run late every once in a while, but at least we call and give them notice that, hey, we're running a little bit behind, and everybody's usually really okay with that. But we get a lot of times we get, oh, y'all showed up on time, or you showed up today. And yeah, we're not supposed to. They're like, no, the other trades don't sometimes. That's very important to the customer. And being presentable when you go in there. Try to be clean cut, nicely dressed. People comment about our white shirts and how we keep them white. We don't keep them white, but we start off that way. But I thought it would be a nice touch to just have a nice appearance when we show up to a customer's house or a place of business.
Has there ever been a moment throughout this journey for you where you thought this isn't going to work out, or maybe not going to make it? Or
not necessarily after we started, but in the process of getting started. We actually applied for a loan through a bank here in town, and they denied us. And I mean, after filling out basically a book of paperwork on credit and business plan for the next 2-3 years, I can't remember exactly, but it was at least 2 years. And what we thought the business would project. And I did it pretty conservatively, and luckily it was even better than what I thought. But we got denied. They weren't comfortable loaning to us. Luckily, my wife knew Ed Hamilton, and he said, hey, I know you are trying to start a business. If you don't need a loan, come see me. So we went in and met with him after we got denied, and he just said, okay, I'm going to loan you this amount of money, and if you need more, you can come back. And we took that loan, and then luckily we didn't have to go back, and got that paid off pretty quickly. So that was pretty nice of him to do that for us.
yeah, that's really nice.
But it was pretty kind of a scary time because we were starting a new business. Zachary was going to be born soon after that. And we just moved into a new house that we were trying to remodel, and we were doing a lot of work ourselves. So we were kind of crazy doing it all at once.
Yeah, it worked out.
But we do a lot of things that we put a lot of extra pressure on ourselves and extra work. So we can't blame anybody but ourselves.
Yeah. You kind of touched on it for a second, but how important has planning been for you? And I just mean that very vaguely, whatever planning, whether it's saving or we're going to open up these services in this amount of years.
Planning has been a big part of it, because you got to look into the future of what you're going to need or be doing or how everything works. So always having a plan for the future, whether it's 6 months, 2 months, a year, 5 years, you want to have some kind of idea. Or even like with the guys, whenever I talk to them, I said, okay, you're going to a house for this problem or just a regular routine. You should already have a couple of scenarios how you're going to tackle a situation that is like if they're having flea problems or carpenter ant issue or termite. Already have a plan, so you already have something worked in your head of how you're going to communicate with the customer what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that goes with running a business too. I mean, you need to think about, okay, we're doing this now. What are we going to be doing next month? What are we going to do in 3 months? And lining up jobs and having product ordered and being ready to take on those even new jobs that we don't know we're going to have.
Yeah.
We got to be prepared to be able to do that, and just managing the guys and the schedule properly helps a lot.
Yeah. How has that been for you, managing other people? I know it's okay managing yourself because you're a hard worker and you can always get things done, but it's hard to let it go.
Some things are hard to let go, and I'm not saying I'm the best manager, because I'm probably not, because I'm the type of person I'm not going to ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do. And I try to work alongside of them at least several times a month, or them working with me alongside me. And that just adds to more training and more eyes on a situation that I may not see, or they may not see. having extra eyes on the situation. So it's
Mhm.
kind of good to work together on problem situations. But managing, I am the type of person, I feel that I'm going to come in there and I'm going to do exactly what I said, how I think it's going to work the best for the situation or the customer or what they're wanting. Now, sometimes I'll go in there and say, hey, this is how I would do it. But there's some customers that don't want it that way. Or they want it a certain way, and we'll cater to that. But it's, again, I'll let them know this is not the best way to take care of this, but we'll do it how you want. But anyway, but with managing, I'm not a dictator whenever I'm working. I do want them to do it the way I want it done, but I expect our employees to honor that and do that. I don't get mad and chew them out and whatever. But anyway, they say I'm pretty easy to work with. So I hope that's true, other than working long hours. Some of them don't like working long hours, because I like to get everything done that needs to get done and more. So
Always staying on top of it.
yeah.
That's good. Do you have any funny stories you could share with us, if possible, or that's okay if not?
Funny story. Let's see. They're just running into wildlife in attics or under houses.
Yeah.
One time, me and another guy were doing a termite job over in Fredericksburg in the middle of town. It was a pier and beam house, and I was up underneath there, and he was working on the outside. And he came over to the crawl hole and said, hey, he started hollering at me, hey, you okay? And I was, yeah. And then about that time, well, before that, I was underneath there and I saw something run across in my side on the side of me. And I just figured it was a cat or something. And so I just kept on working and going around. And about that time, Grant came over there and was checking to make sure everything was okay. And that I was turning about that time to go over to where that whatever moved was at. And I was probably about 10, 15 feet away from it, and realized it was a big skunk. So I'm backing out underneath there on my belly, trying to get out of there as fast as I can. And I was hollering at Grant, pull me out, pull me out. He was like, what? He goes, what's wrong? I said, it's a skunk. Luckily it didn't spray, but eventually we were able to chase it out of there where we could finish the job. But it was kind of scary going around the corner and finding that. Or there's been times where we've run across snakes underneath houses. That's not, it doesn't matter what kind of snake it is, it's not good.
Yeah. Scary.
But
that's funny. No, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you for stopping by. I'll give you a moment now to share any big news you have coming up with the business or personally. Maybe a new building.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're building a new building. It's going to be an office warehouse. We're limited where we're at. We've kind of outgrown that for the last, probably 10 years ago, we overgrown where we're at, but it's going to be super nice for us. We have more room, of course, for storage and product, and being able to stay on top of our bigger jobs that we do, and being able to take care of big jobs immediately versus having to wait a few days for product to come in. But it's at 102 Shriner Street, the corner of Shriner and Pascal, and we're real excited about that. I'm hoping it'll be finished by September. But that's real exciting for us.
Yeah,
it's been a long time coming.
Gonna be sweet. Y'all should check it out. It's getting close. It's looking really good. If you have any pest control needs, give my dad a call. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you'll definitely get the best service in town. Andrew said yes, so I'm good to say that. All right. Thank you all for tuning into the Hill Country Hustlers podcast, episode 1. I think it went pretty well. So everybody have a good day, and thank you.